Michelle Obama goes to Princeton for free.
Yeah.
And has been in the ruling class her whole life.
Yeah.
And she's still lecturing you about how she's a victim of racism. Hillary Clinton, exact same thing. Goes to Wellesley, spends her entire life in the ruling class, and she's still whining about how she's discriminated against. Why are they doing that?
Yeah. And did you ever see, they'll have like pictures of side by side, but it'll be like pictures of like Jimmy Carter's house and Obama's house.
Exactly.
And it totally represents something about the like corroding of our soul.
In a white neighborhood, you should be required to live in the hood if you're Barack Obama, and
if you're using that card.
You use that card. The only reason you got elected was because of your race. You spent your entire 8 years inflaming race hate in our country, and then you go to Martha's Vineyard, the whitest zip code in the world. Not allowed.
They run out of oxygen, They weren't fit for the climb, right? And one of the hardest things is like when you discover that, I mean, do you stop? Do you go back because there was one member that wasn't ready? Or do you keep climbing and sort of leave them where they are?
But, what you start realizing is that they ground you and they give you perspective, and over time that makes you better.
Being together, although we were still stressing about the results of the election and people were in a way, there was a certain kind of need to connect.
In retrospect, it's pretty amazing that Barack Obama got as far as he did. In 2004, the summer of 2004, Barack Obama gave the keynote address to the Democratic Convention in Boston. And when he walked to the podium, probably only a small percentage of people in the room knew how to pronounce his name. He was totally unheard of. No one knew Barack Obama. At the time, he was a state senator in Illinois. 4 years later, he once again spoke to the Democratic Convention, but this time as the nominee. Meteoric doesn't begin to describe it. How did this happen? Well, the outlines are fairly well known, though rarely talked about. A small group of Democratic donors, mostly in Chicago, decided that Barack Obama was their guy. He was the vessel for their ambitions. They paid for his campaign. They paved the way for his rise. He spent 2 years pointlessly in the United States Senate preparing to run for president in 2008, and of course, in the end, he won.
Something shocking was just exposed live on air. And even Tucker Carlson couldn't believe what he was hearing. A former Washington insider, someone with direct knowledge of high-level dealings, sat across from him, revealing a buried secret about Barack Obama that the media had worked tirelessly to keep hidden. The weight of the revelation was undeniable the moment the words left his mouth. The air in the studio seemed to shift, as if everyone present knew that this was no ordinary interview. This wasn't just another political controversy. This was something much bigger, something that could shake the very foundations of what people thought they knew. And yet, for years, no one dared to speak about it, as if an invisible force kept the truth buried. But now, the silence has been broken. The truth, long concealed behind layers of deception and misinformation, is finally coming to light, and there's no stopping it. In 2004, Barack Obama was a virtually unknown state senator, a name barely mentioned outside of Illinois politics. Then, within just 4 years, he was the president of the United States. A rise like that is practically unheard of in American history. But how did it happen? Was it pure charisma and a message of hope? Or was there something much more calculated? Behind the scenes, according to multiple sources, a small but incredibly influential group of powerful donors from Chicago had already decided that Obama was their guy. Long before the public even knew his name, they paved his path, pouring millions into his campaign, ensuring that he had the best strategists, media training, and PR support that money could buy. At the same time, they worked tirelessly behind the curtain to eliminate obstacles in his way, whether that meant neutralizing political opponents, suppressing potentially damaging information, or securing strategic endorsements that would make his rise seem inevitable. Was this a genuine grassroots movement, driven by a passionate electorate? Or was it something far more manufactured? A political experiment designed to install a leader who had been carefully groomed for the role. The media, always eager to push a compelling underdog narrative, celebrated his meteoric rise, but they never stopped to question the forces working behind the scenes, the backroom deals, or the hidden power brokers orchestrating every move. And that's where things start to get truly interesting. The media presented Obama as a fresh new leader, a symbol of hope and change, a figure carefully designed to inspire and unify. But what they didn't tell you was how meticulously his image was controlled. Down to the smallest details, every speech, every public appearance, and every narrative surrounding him was crafted to perfection. Any inconvenient details about his past erased, any scandals buried. Even the smallest inconsistencies in his background were swiftly handled to ensure they never reached the public eye. Some say Washington power brokers went to extreme lengths to shield him from scrutiny, ensuring his past remained a mystery to the public. There were whispers of documents being sealed, testimonies being altered, and those who dared to ask too many questions finding themselves facing sudden career roadblocks. Why? Because questioning it might have shattered the illusion entirely. If even a fraction of what was hidden came to light, the entire foundation of his rise could have crumbled, revealing a side of him that was never meant to be seen by the American people. Asterisk, then came a revelation that sent shockwaves through the studio, leaving everyone stunned. A man claiming first-hand experience with Obama came forward with a story from 1999, one that raised far more questions than it answered. He had hired a limousine service for what was supposed to be just another night out in Chicago. But this was no ordinary ride. The driver, who was more than just a simple chauffeur, was a well-connected insider with ties to powerful figures in the city. Through this driver, he was introduced to none other than Barack Obama himself. The events that followed were nothing short of astonishing, leading the man to question everything he thought he knew. But the real question isn't just what happened that night, it's how deep this connection truly goes. Who else was involved? How far back does this relationship stretch? And, perhaps most chilling of all, why has the media completely erased this piece of Obama's history, pretending as if it never even existed?
It was by accident. I was in the Chicago area in '99 for Lee Duke's graduation from the Naval Academy.
Who's Lee Duke?
He's basically my godson.
Okay.
I had hired a limousine service.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Did you live in Chicago then?
No, I was actually living in Colorado. I had flown in the night before.
Okay.
So I had hired a limousine service, had made the driver aware that if Lee couldn't leave the base, because once they graduate, some of them actually get their assignments and they're shipping out and they can't leave the base, that I was still interested in going out. And had asked the driver if he knew anybody that was available that might want to show me, Chicago. And he said he did. So
who was the driver?
His name was Jamir Multani. It was with 5-Star Limo.
So you're just a guy who's in town for the night, and it sounds like you're looking to party, actually.
Yeah.
That's what you're really saying.
Yeah. Well, I was in town for a few nights, but yeah, I was definitely looking to party. And
did you make that clear to the driver?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. There was no misunderstanding.
How direct were you about that?
Extremely. Extremely.
Okay.
Yeah. There was no doubt what I was looking for.
Okay.
And he picked me up at my hotel in Gurnee and drove into Chicago, pulled up in a bar outside, and there's this guy that's introduced to me as Barack Obama. It was literally that casual.
Had you ever heard of him?
No.
Did the driver know him?
Yep. The driver definitely knew him because the driver said that he was a friend.
Interesting. How would the driver be friends with Barack Obama?
I only found out later, dealing with a reporter from Bloomberg News, that apparently the limousine company had been doing business with Tony Resco.
Oh.
That at the time was somehow affiliated
was
with
in
Barack
Obama's
Obama.
orbit.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Interesting. So he knew Barack Obama, and in his view, Barack Obama liked the same kind of partying you were looking for.
Yeah.
This wasn't just about a casual encounter, it was about powerful people ensuring that no one ever questioned Obama's past. Billionaires, political insiders, and foreign interests all allegedly had a stake in keeping certain aspects of his life hidden. Backdoor deals, financial transactions, and personal favors ensured that Obama's path to power remained smooth and unchallenged. Every potential obstacle that could have derailed his rise was swiftly neutralized, and anyone who dared to ask questions found themselves silenced, discredited, or mysteriously vanishing from public life. But why go to such extraordinary lengths? What exactly was being hidden, and who was truly pulling the strings behind the scenes? Some sources claimed that behind the polished political image was a carefully orchestrated plan, one that had been set in motion years before the public ever heard his name. This influence extended far beyond just financial backing. There were individuals in the intelligence community, powerful global business elites, and even foreign operatives who allegedly played a role in shaping Obama's trajectory. Connections ran deep, with whispers of secret meetings, off-the-record negotiations, and agreements that never saw the light of day. The deeper one looks, the more unsettling the picture becomes. If a single politician's history could be so meticulously altered, then how many others have been subjected to the same treatment? And perhaps the most chilling question of all, what happens when the full truth finally comes to light? Would the American public even be ready for what they might discover? One of the most disturbing parts of this revelation isn't just the alleged cover-up, it's the fact that the media knew and refused to investigate. Why? Because speaking out meant professional suicide. Journalists who even attempted to dig into Obama's past were either silenced, discredited, or ignored. Some were mysteriously reassigned. Others saw their careers mysteriously stall. And a few brave ones who dared to push forward found themselves blacklisted from major networks. The fear was palpable. This wasn't just about protecting a politician. It was about protecting an entire narrative. The deeper question is, if they hid this, what else have they hidden from the public? What other truths have been buried, manipulated, or outright erased to keep the American people in the dark? Then came the final revelation, the one that left even Tucker Carlson momentarily speechless. The guest revealed a hidden truth so explosive that it could rewrite everything we thought we knew about Obama's presidency. Carlson leaned back, absorbing the weight of the moment, before finally shaking his head in disbelief. This isn't just corruption, he said. This is deception at the highest level. And if this is true, it means we've all been played for fools. The studio fell into a tense silence. The weight of the revelation seemed to hang in the air, suffocating even the most seasoned political analysts. But as shocking as this moment was, it was only the beginning. The guest leaned forward, emphasizing that this cover-up was deeper than anyone could have imagined. The implications stretched far beyond Obama himself. This was about an entire system built to control narratives, manufacture consent, and keep the public blissfully unaware of what was really happening behind the scenes. Social media erupted instantly. Within minutes, hashtags calling for investigations trended nationwide. Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram were flooded with posts from outraged citizens demanding answers. Prominent figures chimed in, some expressing disbelief, others claiming they had suspected it all along but never had the proof. News outlets scrambled to respond, with some outright dismissing the claims as conspiracy theories, while others hesitated, waiting to see how the public would react before taking a stance. But one thing was clear: this was a moment that couldn't be ignored. The floodgates had been opened, and there was no turning back. If this information had been buried for so long, what else was out there, lurking beneath the surface, waiting to be uncovered? Asterisk, if these revelations are true, then America wasn't just misled, it was deceived on a grand scale, manipulated by forces working behind the scenes to maintain their grip on power. This isn't just about Obama, it's about a hidden system, a network of elites who shape reality, control narratives, ensure that only those who serve their interests can rise to the top. They dictate the stories we're told, the politicians we trust, and the truths we believe, while keeping the public in the dark about what's really going on. Carlson vowed to keep digging, but the question remains, will the full truth ever come out? And if these revelations were suppressed for so long?
Look, there have been maybe 3 or 4 instances where you do get a call in the middle of the night. So, for example, when the typhoon hit Japan, Fukushima.
Right.
And you're not sure what exactly is going to be happening. It's the other side of the world, so it's the middle of the night.
I was a second-year associate at a law firm in Chicago. Winters in Chicago are deadly dreary. So the thought of leaving my family, who I love, and going to spend Christmas with the love of my life in Hawaii, I was like, sign me up.
What you start realizing is that they ground you and they give you perspective, and over time that makes you better, right? So I'd be down dealing with some legislative issue, trying to pass Obamacare, or trying to deal with some international issue, Iraq, Afghanistan. Then I come up, and my girls, they don't want to hear anything about that.